Hey everyone, I don't know how to start this video. I've been rewatching the videos that I've made, and all of them would start with, Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Idle Hands. Today we're going to talk about, and so on and so forth. So I think all of the videos I've made have started like that, and it has gotten quite repetitive. And I wanted to figure out a good way to start the video, but I've been sitting here on my desk for the last 2 hours trying to figure this out. Haven't started recording yet, and my my weekend is burning to dust, and I still don't know how to properly intro my video. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna do this way, very casual, right? I press the record button. I'll show you the screen, and then we're just gonna talk about me making another video. Today we're gonna talk about Refine 101, or understanding the fundamentals of refine attack and refine damage reduction. Before we start, I wanted to show you what I have on the screen here. We are on Facebook, and the name of the page is Idle Hands. So feel free to hop onto Facebook, give us a like, or follow the page, and perhaps share it with friends or family who are also playing Ragnarok. Of course, if they're not playing Ragnarok, there's no need to share it to them, right? I mean, if they don't share the same interests, then it's pretty useless. But anyways, if you do like the work that I've been doing, you want to get in touch with me, um, feel free to reach me via Facebook or also via our Discord channel. But anyways, today we're back with another video on Refine or Refine 101, which is understanding the fundamentals of Refine attack and damage reduction. Now, of course, this topic covers both physical and magical aspect of it. Again, I want to put it out there because I don't like misinformation. I don't like fake stuff. So, you know, what we'll be discussing today would be the fundamentals of refine attack and damage reduction. And if you're in here to know what the formula is on the success rate when you're refining, sorry to disappoint, but that will not be covered here. So if you clicked on this video believing that that will be discussed, I want to reiterate, we will not talk about it. I don't know what the formula is for that. So if that's the only thing you're after here today, I'd say it's fine. You can drop off the video and there's no need for you to finish the video. Anyways, but if you're here to understand how Refine Attack works and how Refine Reduction works, then I think you're in the right place and I think we can continue discussing this. Okay, so my usual disclaimers before I start. I am not a professional developer. I'm not a programmer. So everything I'll be talking about here today will be solely based on my understanding of the in-game codes and my actual gaming experience. Likewise, I am not affiliated with anyone who works in Gravity or in XD. I don't know anyone there. And before we start, I'd like to say thanks to Team Leaks, to everyone within the group who has been working really hard to give us some of the advanced stuff that we know today. So thanks again, everyone. And if you do want to connect with us, feel free to join our Discord server, and just ping any one of us there. Okay, now let's start off with defining what refine attack or refine magic attack is. Now, just so I don't have to say a mouthful, I'm always going to refer to it as either refine attack or refine damage reduction. But what I meant there is, both ways, right? It's attack and magic, sorry, physical and magic. So anyway, it is an advanced attack source that ignores several modifiers, so may it be positive or negative. Now, if you don't know what I mean with attack source, I have a video on the fundamentals of damage calculation. That's where I did separate out what the sources are and what the multipliers are or modifiers. So refine attack is a source, and that's categorized. Sorry, that's you can observe that looking at the formula via the plus, the plus symbol, before it, right? So it means it adds that. So compared to the other parameters where it multiplies the value, this one adds a certain value. Now, I'm saying it's an advanced attack source because unlike attack, as you can see here, which is affected by everything or every multiplier or modifier. Refine attack, on the other hand, is unaffected by some of the basic ones. Now, these basic ones, I like to call them as a poor man's modifier because they're so easy to acquire. Now, this can either be a good or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it and what the current game situation is. And we're going to go there later. But as you can see here, it's added somewhere after multiplying attack final by def reduc and damage reduction. So this is a snippet from the Magic Dragon Breath formula, but what this simply means is this value, whatever it may be, is unaffected by everything that came before it. And that's because of PEMDAS. So the right order of operation in mathematics. So what I'm trying to say here is depending on how you view it and depending on how people make their build, refined attack could either be useful or not useful at all. Because say for example, if you're adding refined attack, but majority of your multipliers are here, right? For example, you stacked up on attack percentage, on size, on element, on raise, ignore def, and penetration, then those aren't gonna modify or multiply your fine attack. But if majority, so for example, majority of your multipliers are, um, in damage increase or um, in skill damage increase or final damage, then those are parameters that affects refine attack. So again, it depends on how you build your character, and it depends on how your enemies are building your character. Because obviously, if it's not affected by the positive effect of these containers, it means this value is also not being reduced by these containers. Okay, now let's talk about the sources for refine attack. Currently, these are the known sources that we have, right? So one is refine. So which means, hologram, right? So refine attack or magic attack from each plus one on your weapon or accessory. As you can see here, this is a snippet of the code from Bill Gizarmi, the spear. So it actually specifies how much refine attack each refine level is gonna give. So as you can see here, it's 12 per refine level. The other one is the legendary anvil, which you actually get from the guild hall. So each level of the enhancement that you unlock there gets added to either refine attack or refine magic attack. You can allocate that. And then you have the other sources from your gears, enchantments, Aesir, cards, journals, etc. So in Aesir, you have a lot of those refine attack. I think Valkyrie, the Valkyrie Rengris card, not the Rathrisi card, the other one gives refine attack, right? So these are all of the three sources that you have. Currently, I don't I could be wrong, there could be some other sources, but in general, these are the only three sources that you have for refine attack. So if you see here, because of its nature of having limited sources, the amount by which you can accumulate it is also more challenging. I know there will probably be some people who are about 1,000 or 2,000, not sure, but I don't think currently in the game you can get to a point where your refine attack could sit somewhere near with your actual attack or magic attack, which is rightfully just so, right? Because if not, I mean, it would be it wouldn't be too balanced, I'd say, if it was easy to stack up on this. Now, let me move on to some of the common questions. These are the ones I'm mostly getting when talking with Refine Attack. So, you know, say for example, you tested, right? And Refine Attack really didn't increase my damage so much. Does it mean it's useless, right? Because even way back, I think it was in episode 2 or 3. I mean, people have been trying to figure out whether it was really needed, right? So they would try to add a +1 on their weapon, and then they'll see what the difference is, right? And most people would say it was very minimal difference. It's probably not worth it. So a lot of people just ditch refine attack. Now let me put this in the proper perspective, right? Say, for example, this is you, right? You have a plus zero weapon and you hit someone for 3.14 M, right? Now you refined it up to plus four, and then you hit the same person, and then now you're just dealing 3.141 million, right? Which is a very minimal increase. Now, of course, people are wondering why is that so? I mean, does that mean does that mean it's not effective? Now, to be honest, if you put it in this situation, right? I mean, which is I think where majority of people are coming from, then I think everyone can pretty much agree that it was negligible, right? You probably didn't need it in the first place. But just to explain that, right? So these are our modifiers again, right? The table of modifiers from before. You have to keep in mind that your previous damage, the 3.14 M before you added the plus 4, that one pretty much was being affected by all of these, right? It means that you were strong to begin with, right? And this player's reductions probably wasn't enough to deter you. Now, the bonus you were getting from the plus 4 refine were not affected by all of these parameters. It's only affected by these set of parameters or containers. Now, if you have very little of these, right, and because a plus 4, for example, in Bilge's army is just 48 refine attack, right, then you're basically multiplying a very minimal amount with minimal multipliers, which thus explains why it's very low, right? So again, I mean, refine attack is unaffected by both the positive and the negative multipliers, right? That takes effect before it is added. So it's only affected by these. So it is not effective in all situations. I'd say it's only effective in certain sets of situations. Which brings us to the next question, right? When is it useful then? I mean, if you're telling me that my scenario with my friend isn't you know, is it, I mean, proves that it isn't effective, right? Then when is it effective? So let's take this for example, right? I mean, maybe you're hitting someone who's a really strong Divine Avenger, who's really, really tanky, right? Um, I probably should have put F2P here, hashtag F2P, because that's that's one term I hear a lot nowadays. So you hit this F2P Divine Avenger. So you hit this F2P Divine Avenger, and with a plus zero weapon, and you just deal 10k, right? And then you put a plus four, and then all of a sudden you hit him 15k. Now, of course, there's an oversimplification of situations, right? I'm just saying that when you add refine attack, it could actually bring you to 15k. And why is that so, right? I mean, it is most useful. The reason why it's effective to a certain point is it's useful when you're fighting enemies that are fully decked with basic reductions. Okay, the poor man's reduction, as I call them, right? Which is def, damage reduction, race, size, etc. So these are modifiers that are very easily attainable, and a lot of people are actually able to get. So if you hit someone that's fully invested in this, right, and has very low refined damage reduction or doesn't have any reduction apart from this, then it may, potentially give you a better yield. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to make your damage jump from 10k to 1 million, right? But just from that perspective alone, I mean, it could rise up to a certain percentage that you would deem somewhat efficient. So what I'm simply saying here is end game if you're fighting whales and they have so much reductions, right? Refine attack or refine magic attack may make or break the match because it is that part of your attack that is not affected by a lot of these easily attainable reductions. Okay, now let me just take a sip from my coffee, just a bit. Next is refined damage reduction. Now, I like this topic. I mean, to be honest, this whole topic, I didn't want to do this. I actually had to do a poll. I had to do a poll and ask people what they wanted to what they wanted to be the next topic. So the options were Def 102, which is a PvP discussion on the def reduction. The other option was this, which is Refine 101, and the third one was MDef 101. Now, a lot of people voted for this. I think they were voting for this because they were more interested, or they were hoping rather, they were hoping to hear about how the chance is computed, or whether there's a formula that tells us whether this is effective, or is there a certain pattern, or should I go to a certain channel? So yeah, there is none. I'm gonna be pretty honest with that. But yeah, I like this topic because this, I would say, is the most difficult and most frustrating reduction to attain. That's because you have to gamble, right? I mean, you have to um, over refine your equipment to be able to reach a very high amounts of these reductions. So again, the definition for refined damage reduction is it's an advanced modifier. Okay, now remember before refine is an attack source, refined damage reduction is a modifier because it multiplies it. Okay, it multiplies the damage rather than add a certain value to the damage. And it reduces all sources. So it doesn't really matter whether, um, when I say sources, that's why it's in quotations, guys. Um, when I say sources, what I meant here is your attack sources, as I've discussed in the fundamentals for understanding damage computation. So it pretty much covers all of the sources. As you see here, right, everything that comes before it is affected, right? And even if you go to the skill damage, the skill damage part, normal attack or auto attack damage part. So this is basically your zeal, right? So refined damage is still there. So the true attack that some of the gears are talking about, this is this part. As you can see, this has been specifically added so that the true damage part would get affected. So it does modify everything and is therefore as good as final damage reduction or result damage reduction. So yeah, this is probably one of the best reductions you can get in the game. Here's a small table on the differences, right? So all of these sources here are affected by these parameters. As you can see, refined damage reduction is right here. Okay, so I hope it's clear. I hope everyone understands what it really does. So it basically just reduces everything. Okay, now when I talk about this, we're talking about the attack damage. Okay, so it may be magical or physical as long as it's an attack damage. There's a second set of damages that I haven't really talked about yet, which I usually refer to as buff damage. Those are different types of damages, and the computation is a little bit different, and some of them may or may not be affected by refined damage reduction. One example would be the DOT or the HP drain that you get from poison, right? It is not an attack damage, it's more like a buff damage, and because of that, it behaves a little bit differently. Same thing with Twisted Time Bomb. It is a buff damage, it behaves differently. Um, it may or may not be affected by refined damage reduction. I have to check, but what I'm saying is there's a second class of damage where, some of these modifiers may act differently. Okay, now let's talk about the sources. Currently, there is only one source that I can think of. I've tried to look around. The only thing I can think of is refine, right? Via this guy. There are other sources, but sorry, I'm not sure if there are other sources. So that's why there's a question mark here. Currently, I don't think I've seen any other sources. So currently, this is the only thing that I'm basing everything off. So this is a code snippet from it's an armor. I forgot which armor this was, but basically it dictates here the amount of percentage that it adds per refine. So if it's an offhand, armor, garment, or shoes, it's 0.9% per plus one. For head, face, mouth, back, and tail, it's zero point 0.8 per plus one. So it's not the same, okay? It's not 1%, it's 0.9 for the physical reduction and zero point 0.8 for the magic damage reduction. Okay, now this is just a small, so this is just a table on the percentage of refined damage reduction that you get from here. So as you can see here, armor, offhand, garment, and boots provides physical refined damage reduction, while your head, face, mouth, back, and tail provides magic refined damage reduction. So yeah, you can just use this as a reference to see how much damage reduction you'll get, right? I mean, sometimes you also got to think, right? I mean, is it worth it to go from plus 10 to plus 12 if there's no real bonus to it? I mean, obviously, all of us wants to be at plus 15, right? But sometimes if there's no real bonus, why move from plus 14 to plus 15 when the difference is just 3.6? Maybe that 3.6 makes or breaks it, but or maybe that plus one just gets rid of the itch, right? But anyways, um, you can refer to this table just to estimate how much refined damage reduction you can get. Here's a table for refined magic damage reduction. So as you can see, it's kind of higher. At plus 15 for all. In physical, you're at 54%. For magic, you're at 60%, mainly because you actually have five pieces of equipment there, right? Um, yeah. So even though it's zero point 0.8 per refine, because there's five of them, it all totals up to 60%. Now let's go to the common questions. Okay, I wanted to take some time to talk through this. Um, so is it true that the plus 15 on head, face, mouth, back, and tail is the best way to counter slayers? Now I've seen a video on this, right? And I've seen people talk about this, and it has kind of become like a generic prescription, right? I mean, when someone asks, how do you counter slayers? Oh, just get plus 15 all on the right side. Oh, just get plus 15 all, right? I mean, it's it's not wrong. I mean, I'll be frank, it's not wrong, but I find it kind of funny, right? Because you see, that's the way to counter magic in general. It's not specifically for slayers, right? I mean, it's just like saying, okay, how do you catch a baseball? You just have to put your hands up. That's it in general for everything that you want to catch, right? So, so yeah, it's not specifically for slayers. It's not wrong. It's just a little bit funny that everyone prescribes it that way because, yeah, I mean, you can get a plus 15, right? But you see, it's not so easy. It's not so easy to get a plus 15, right? Majority of people are not able to afford it. And if you are gonna get a plus 15 that's totally useless just just for the sake of countering slayers, then it's very counterproductive. So yeah, plus 15 on head, face, mouth, back, tail is a way to counter magic in general, not just slayers. Okay, so if so, why do I still get one hit after plus 15 on head, face, mouth, back, and tail? I mean, I think I've seen a lot like this. We've seen a lot of people who have all plus 15 and still get decked by really strong players. Um, if you refer back to the table earlier, a plus 15 on all these five would be 60% reduction in magic, right? So which means if the remaining 40% of the supposed damage is enough to one hit knock out you, then of course you'd still die, right? It's not some magic cookie that will suddenly make you resistant to every attack, right? I mean, math is still in effect, and if the remaining 40% is enough to make it drop, then you'll definitely drop. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you have plus 15 all, which puts me back on my point, right? Getting any plus 15 isn't enough, right? Ideally, you get a plus 15, but you also have to think about the accompanying stats of that gear, right? I mean, does it provide good reduction, right? What if I have a plus 15, but it's it's a really shitty gear, right? What if the base def of that gear is pretty low, right? So what if there's no effect to that gear? The only thing it does is def plus 10 and then it's plus 15. You see, if that's the case, then it's pretty much useless, right? Yeah, it may give you more survivability against one type of enemy, right? But if it's a really decked enemy, if it's a really strong enemy, and you have nothing else apart from these useless plus 15s, then you're still gonna die. So again, just being plus 15 isn't always sufficient. Okay, now for those who stayed long enough to get at this part, there's some bonus knowledge here. Of course, I didn't want to disappoint those. Who wanted to look into the nitty-gritty details of Refine. Although I can't offer the I can't offer the damage for sorry the chance formula. I have a little bit of extra for you guys. So weapons and accessories have a hidden bonus at plus 5, plus 10, and plus 15. So when I say this, it doesn't mean that you have to stop at plus 5 and plus 6 will not have the bonus. Okay? So if you're plus 6, you'll get the bonus for plus 5. So at plus 5, you have 0.9% in pen or magic penetration. It doesn't show up in your stats because it's actually different. It's not penetration per se, but the exact same thing that it does is the exact same thing that penetration does. It does so it doesn't show up in your stats. Um, Plus 10 is 1.8% and plus 15 is 3.6% for pen and M pen. That's on all three of these weapons and two accessories. So if you have a plus 15 weapon and both of your accessories are plus 15, you get 3.6 multiplied by 3 in terms of penetration or M pen. Now, some people have been asking, what if I'm using a magic accessory? I'm using it for physical. Will it still take effect? Will it give me M pen or pen? The answer is it gives you both. It doesn't really matter what you do. It gives you both. Okay, it is not categorized as the same thing as pen and M pen, so it doesn't really matter whether you're using a magic accessory or not. In fact, if you're a um, overbrand build, which is an extinct build because devs made it so useless. If, sorry, sorry for laughing. I just remembered Bacon because Bacon is from Team Leaks. He's our resident translator on everything from Chinese to English. So, so way back, Bacon was building an overbrand build, which we used to call OB way. Uh, and he was fully invested in it, right? Really awesome gears, really good gameplay. But every time he goes to PvP, it's shit. And anyways, I don't want to laugh at Bacon anymore. But anyway, so OB uses magic and physical, right? So if you have plus 15 accessories and weapons, and you're using Overbrand, which uses both magical and physical, you actually get 3.6 pen and 3.6 M pen. It takes effect at both sides. Okay, now how about head, face, mouth, back, and mouth, back, whatever. So if weapon and accessories have bonuses, how about the other gear? So this is not just related to to head, face, mouth, back, and tail. This also includes armor, garments, and shoes, and offhand, right? They have no hidden bonus at plus 5, 10, plus 15. To be honest, the reductions is already a big deal, so it's a little too much to hope for hidden bonuses there. So unless the gear specifies any bonus at those refined levels, then there is none. Okay, um, second bonus knowledge. Survival Ring, which is a broken plus 3 here, I have it in my inventory. Survival Ring gives HP per refine and enhance. So contrary to other accessories, Survival Ring, and this is one of the reasons why it actually makes it one of the, actually, this is the best defensive accessory. Um, I know a lot of people will be saying, ROI gives more VIT, and so on and so forth. But for me, if you ask me, this accessory here is the best survivability accessory. So every enhance gives HP, right? I think it gives 10 HP per enhance. Every refine gives HP as well. So, as you can see, this one is different from the other accessories. So if you really want to raise your HP, this is really the way to go. Okay. I want to slide this in before I end the video. Um, a lot of people have been asking this, and I've already put a disclaimer at the start of the video. Actually, at this point, you can drop off. There's nothing important that will be discussed after this. Don't worry. Um, the start of the video, I've put in several disclaimers, right? And I've always been clear to everyone that I don't know, right? I don't know about this. I mean, I haven't seen the formula on this. To be honest, as long as you don't see all of my gears at plus 15, there shouldn't be any reason for you guys to think that I know anything about this. Because if I do, then I probably won't be sitting at the level of gears that I have right now. But anyways, I wanted to take some time to talk about why I've put up those disclaimers. Um, you see in YouTube, every time someone clicks on your video and maybe watches it for 1 minute or so, you already gain something out of it, right? I mean, it gets views, you get watch minutes. Doesn't really matter how short it is, right? So if you put up a really catchy title with really catchy thumbnails, a lot of people would find it interesting and potentially click on it. Now imagine if the thumbnail and the title that I've put in there in this video would read everything you need to know about Refine, right? And then I've put in some graphics in the thumbnail about plus one, plus 15 and such. You can't help but make people wonder, okay, will he discuss something that's related to the success rate of refining? Maybe I can get tips on how to refine, right? Which is very misleading, right? And even though I would gain something out of it, I mean, with the amount of players that ROM has, I know my reach isn't that big, but you put something that catchy and then just share it somewhere, maybe share it in a public group, share it somewhere like Discord, people will get interested. They'll click on it, right? They watch 1, 2 minutes, find out it's shit. They'll probably stop watching, but then you already gained something out of it, right? And it's a culture that has been very rampant nowadays, especially in YouTube. So I know this doesn't matter much, right? But I I didn't want to be like those. It's not that I'm too self-righteous or that I do want to uphold my morals, but I'm doing this for fun, right? I mean, I end up earning something out of these videos. It's just a bonus, which I'll probably spend back on Ragnarok or maybe just give away to some of you guys. But I didn't do this because I needed to do this to earn money. I do this because I genuinely like doing this, and sometimes it's so much easier to just record the video, put it out there, rather than having to explain it every time someone asks, right? So I like what I'm doing, and I don't feel like I need to resort to doing clickbaits and having misleading titles. So yeah, I think you can be at peace or at ease that any videos that I'll be uploading won't include any clickbaits or any misleading titles because I really don't like that kind of strategy, right? I mean, I am on YouTube a lot, and every now and then I see these videos such as, um, you know, X finally fights this or the best concert in history, and I end up expecting something. I watch it for like 30 minutes, and then I realize I was duped. so, so I don't want anyone to go through the same experience. So yeah. To answer this, is there a formula on how the chance on refine is computed? Does a blacksmith skill really work? Right? This is the most one of the most common questions we get about refine. The answer is there's nothing in the local files, guys. I have been browsing the local files for quite some time, and I may not have read each and every line, but I pretty much have experience into using, good search strings to find out what I'm looking for. And I couldn't find anything. Okay. It is likely that the chance is computed on the server side. So probably, so 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 if I were to speculate, the way it works is um, as soon as you engage Hologram to refine, you click on refine, it sends a request to the server to compute the odds, right? And then the server returns a certain value that will decide whether it is success or fail, right? And actually the closest thing that we've gotten to finding out something related to refine is simply the emojis that these NPCs are using when it's success or fail. So so yeah, there's really nothing there's nothing in the files that can really shed some light on this. For now, I think we just have to trust what the developers are saying. Um, in China, they've started displaying the rates in the UI, so we'll probably just have to trust that. Yeah, so that's it. That's it, everyone. I hope you learned something new today, and I hope you now finally understand how refine attack works and how refine damage reduction works. If you do have any questions, feel free to type it down in the comment section below. I know I haven't been timely in terms of replying, but I'm doing my best to reply to everyone. For some of you guys who are asking to see some snippets of the code and such, I think it's better if you go onto Discord to PM me or maybe on Facebook because I can't really put it in YouTube, right? I mean, if I paste it as plain text, it may be a lot and it may be difficult to understand because the formatting is gone. So, so yeah, I may probably want to message me in Discord or in Facebook. Next video, guys, will be about def. So I've decided to finally do def 102, which deals with the PvP adjustment for defense reduction. So again, thanks everyone for listening. I hope you have a nice weekend.